Hi, I'm Sandi Genovese, and we are going to be making an explosion style scrapbook today that actually I am making for a friend who has a new granddaughter. So you look at the cover of the little mini book and you can see that I've decorated it with a three-dimensional flower. We're going to see how to make that. And then when you open the pages inside, they're this explosion style. Now I haven't even added photos or embellishments yet. The photos are going to be of the baby girl who's not here yet. But even when you're giving a gift without the photos, you can still add, especially if you know what her name is going to be, and baby themed embellishments, spots where you're going to put journaling. So as I turn the pages, you can see that this scrapbook is made up of 3 of these explosion style pages. So in order to start with, let's actually look at how to make that explosion happen. What you want to do is start with scrapbook paper that is 12 inches long, and you're going to trim it 6 inches wide. So every piece of 12 by 12 paper is going to generate 2 pages. All you need to do is just fold it in half and crease. So this is going to be the pages. Now to get the exploding mechanism that's on the inside, you'll start with a square. And you know, I should have measured this, but my square is 8.5 inches wide. So an 8.5 inch wide square is going to fit perfectly inside. And you want first to fold it in half, going one way with the pattern paper on the inside of this valley fold. Open it up and fold in half going the other direction. Once again, creating a valley fold if you're looking at the design on the inside. And then turn it over and do in half on the diagonal, where now you have the pattern paper on the outside. And get your crease. So when you open it up, all you need to do is push in the middle of this spot here, and it starts to make the explosion happen. I'll turn it so you can see. If I pull the diagonal folds together like so they kiss, and then lay it and then go back over. These folds are really already there. I'm just refolding now that they're in this smaller square format. This is the explosion mechanism. Now I just want to place this inside the folded page. So as I say so many times, you're going to do way more adhesive than that, but this is going to get placed on, I want to do it so it's on the diagonal, so I'm going to make it so that it's right against the folded edge and against each of the sides and the top, and push down. This is going to fold right over the top, but first I'm going to add adhesive now. Once again, remember, more adhesive for you. And push. That gives me my exploding page. Well, you can have as many of these in the scrapbook. Boy, it really is the beauty of making it yourself. If you have lots of photos, you can make lots of pages. If you only have a few favorite photos, then you only need to make a few. My scrapbook used 3 pages. So I'm going to bring up, I've already gone ahead and I've created 2 more of the explosion style pages. So I have 3 pages ready to go. In order to make them into a book, I just have to glue the fronts to the backs. Easy enough. Remember, you're going to use more adhesive, but this is going to get attached. I'm going to just set the next one right over the top. And the easiest way to make sure that they're really flush is to sort of tap them together and then push so that adhesive, even though I don't have as much as you need, it'll be enough to hold it together so you can see how to build this. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to position this over the top, but I'm going to sort of tap it all together, make sure that everything is straight, and then push again. So you just continue adding as many pages as you want. So now what you have, each page is attached, so you have your booklet ready to go. For the cover, it can be really simple. I took a strip of paper that was already striped. I knew that the thickness of my pages, as well as all the photos I'm going to add inside, I want a 1/4 inch spine. So I've taken and I've put a 1/4 inch spine by having 2 folds, and in order to keep it nice and have that fold not want to collapse, that spine, I'm going to take and put adhesive on a piece of chipboard that's just a hair under 1/4 inch. And I'm going to position this so that it sits right inside the fold. I can't, in my lighting, I can't really see my fold lines too well. So I'm going to get it in the general vicinity, and then I'm going to fold it and push when I can tell that it's both edges. There we go. So right there. Okay, so I'm going to fold, refold on my edges. So I now have this. This just will really support. When you hand make a scrapbook, this spine I think is the weakest part, where it wants to kind of collapse unless you give it some support with some chipboard. Now I'm going to add adhesive, and you can do one cover at a time or both covers. I'll go ahead and place one of this so it sits right over the top and wraps around, and then I'm going to put adhesive on. Remember, you're going to do more adhesive on the other side. Wrap it around. This could be a cool cover. I wanted to add a little more detail, so I'm going to add some pattern paper from my Brenda Walton stack of papers that I love. It's a tablet with, it's like I think it's called The Best of Brenda Walton, and I got it, I think it's put out by EK Success. So if I bring this back up, you can see I added another, I wanted the contrast, and I wanted to bring in more of the red that is going to be in the flower. So I added this little check design, and then I have a die cut of a leaf, but really the wow factor of this little scrapbook is going to be the dimensional flower. Well, let me rephrase that. The wow factor of the scrapbook is going to be the photos of the little darling baby. But to look at it now, before we've added the photos, let's look at how to create that 3D flower. So I'm going to bring this up and show you the different steps. I used a die cut, but if you don't have access, and it doesn't have to be this exact die cut, but what you need are petals on the outside and then matching petals on the inside. So this was a die cut. You can see that the petal, this center part, it cut it all as one, and then this part just fell out. Well, we can replicate the look of this inside and the outside just by using a circle punch. So I took a 1 1/16 circle punch, and I used it to fasten together to create the outside of this is that die cut. And then you can see I've used a little piece of tape to hold it there. I've used 1/4 inch circles to create the inside, to match what looks like the inside portion that falls out of this die cut, so that if you cut this out and then lay this down and put it on top and cut around this, you basically will have the same thing as this. Once you have 5 of these is what I use to make the flower. So the first step is to take these 2 of the flower shapes, fold them in half, and I'm going to put adhesive on what will be the back, and I'm attaching it to just a little piece of the same red paper that's cut into a bit of a rectangle as a support. It's not going to show except maybe right, in the middle. So I'm going to just tuck these together so you can see I want the same color, because depending on how big the brad is that's going to go in the middle, let me bring this up and show you. The brad that's going to go in the center there, it's actually covering all the flower, but sometimes if you look around the edges, you can still see a little of what's down here. So I like for the color to match, or to be a color that looks good with it. It can be a contrasting color too. Once you have these 2, now we need to build the dimensional flowers. So you want to start the first one, you want to cut out 1 of the petals. So using the die design itself, I'm going to cut out here and here. And I want now to reassemble this. So I'm going to pull these around together. I want to pull them around together. And once again, I could just use tape to hold this shut, but sometimes you look and you can see this back side. So I'm going to fasten these together with some of the same paper, and I've put adhesive on it. I'm going to put actually I think I'm going to use, that's not very big, so I'm going to put more. Is there adhesive on the back of this? Yeah. I'm going to put adhesive on 2 sides, and then let's see if I can do this on the the blue paper so you can really see. I'm going to align them so they line up in a new fashion since I've cut out one of those petals, and then push down so that I end up with a slightly dimensional flower. Now I'm going to take a fresh flower, and this time instead of just cutting out 1 petal, I'm going to use the guides to cut out 2 of the petals. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull this around so that it creates a flower shape. I'll do it this way. And then fasten these together. I have already stuck those together, but that's how I'm going to do this one. Then I'm going to take the last flower die cut, and I'm going to cut it in half. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull this all the way around, and I'm going to have one where it meets and one where it overlaps so that I have even a tighter circle. So that all together, if I show you the ones that I've already cut out, you can see that what I have is the one we just made is going to nest here, and then the next one, and the next one, and the last one. So they're all going to nest perfectly. Now, the easiest way to get these to nest together is by taking these, I think of them as glue dots, but the brand I use is called Zots. And they're little glue. They're trapped inside. They're so easy to work with. The reason it's easy is I can take and pull the backing off, and then take the little dot of glue that's there and attach it to each of the tips of this flower. I'm going to leave the backing on here for now, just so that as I work my way around the flower, I don't accidentally put my hand into my adhesive. So each one of the tips, I'm going to just get underneath in order to get my adhesive on this tip. Press it down, and I'll just continue doing the same thing, adding a little dot of adhesive on each of the tips of that interior flower. So you can see why I'm having to hold the flower as I'm working my way around. That's why I leave the backing on. So I've just placed the final little dot, and now I can take the backing off of all of these. It just leaves the glue, and it's on each one of the tips of those flowers. And now I'm going to just position this, and all I have to do is press it in place all the way around. Now I'm going to go back, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put the glue dots on the tips of each of these flowers and nest it inside. So I'm now getting ready to pull off the backing of the final one, and I thought I would reference as they get tighter. It's helpful. I can't always get my fingers in there to push down on that adhesive, so I'll just take a pencil eraser and position this where I want it, and then use my pencil eraser to push down so that that adhesive is engaged, and make sure that it really sticks in all those places. You may not be able to see, but I'll get this out of the way so you can see inside. Now what you want to do to finish that off, I'm going to use a brad, and so that means I'm going to need a hole. I have gone and punched a hole out of this rectangle piece in the very beginning, but sometimes it kind of moves around and it's not always really in the middle when I'm done. So I'm going to use my screw punch. This is a Martha Stewart tool, in order to put a hole right in the middle. And I'm going through a few layers. Remember, so I'm going to do it a few times so you can see that I have the hole now. And you just pick whichever of the brads that you want, and I'm just going to drop it so it goes through the hole. I'm trying to do it so my fingers aren't in the way, but it's kind of futile. I'm going to have to drop it in and then just move my fingers out of the way so you can see. So you're going to drop it in so it sits nicely in the center. When you open up the prongs, you get a beautiful flower that can then be, just use adhesive on this back side in order to attach it right to the cover of the scrapbook. And basically, we've created the whole scrapbook in not very much time. It is incredibly easy. You know, they're easy to make and they result in a really fun scrapbook that has super dimensionality.